My name is Lucas, and me and Shane are doing our book project on Harry Potter on the audiobook. And this is chapter 4, where I will read The Keeper of the Keys. Boom! They knocked again. Dudley jerked awake. "Where's the cannon?" he said stupidly. There was a crash behind them, and Uncle Vernon came skidding into the room. He was holding a rifle in his hands. Now they knew what had been in the long, thin package he had brought with them. "Who's there?" he shouted. "I warn you, I'm armed." There was a burst, then smash! The door was hit with such force that it swung clean off its hinges, and with a deafening crash landing flat on the floor. A giant man was standing in the doorway. His face was almost completely hidden by a long, shaggy mane of hair and wild, ragged, tangled beard. But you could make out his eyes glinting like a black beetle's under his hair. The giant squeezed his way into the hut, stooping so that his head just brushed the ceiling. He bent down up and picked up the door, and it fitted easily back into its frame. The noise from the storm outside dropped a little. He turned to look at them. "Couldn't make us a cup of tea, could ye? It's nor been easy journey." He stood over the sofa where Dudley sat frozen with fear. "Badger up, great lug," said the stranger. Dudley squeaked and ran out behind his mother, who was crouching terrifiedly behind Uncle Vernon. "And here's Harry," said the giant. Harry looked up into the fierce field's shadowy face and saw that the beetle eyes were in a crinkled smile. "Last time I saw you was only a baby," said the giant. "Yeah, look like a lot like your dad, but you got your mom's eyes." Uncle Vernon was making a funny rapping noise. "I demand that you leave this house at once, sir," he asked. "You are breaking and entering." Shut up, Dursley, you great prune," said the giant. He reached over back at the sofa, the gun of Uncle Vernon's hands, bent the barrel into a knot as easily if it had been made of rubber, and then threw it into the corner of the room. Uncle Vernon made another funny joke like a mouse being trodden. "Anyway, Harry," said the giant, turning back on the Dursleys, "a very happy birthday to you. Got some summit for here? I might have said it at some point, but I'll taste all right." From the inside pocket of his black overcoat, he pulled slightly squashed box. Harry opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a large sticky chocolate cake with "Happy Birthday, Harry" written all in green icing. Harry looked up at the giant. He meant to say thank you, but the words he got lost from his heart to his mouth. And what he said was, "Who are you?" The giant chuckled. "True, I haven't introduced myself. My name is Robus Hagrid, keeper of the keys and grounds at Hogwarts." He held out an enormous hand and shook Harry's whole arm. "What about a cup of tea, he said, rubbing his hand together. "I'd not say no to something stronger if you got it mind." His eyes fell off on an empty grate with a shriveled chip bags in it, and it snorted. He bent down over the fireplace. They couldn't see what he was doing, but he drew back. A second later, there was a roaring fire there, It filled the whole damn hut with flickering light, and Harry felt warmth washing over him as thought he'd be sink into a hot bath. The giant sat back down on the sofa, which sagged under his weight, and began talking all sort of things out of the pockets of his coat. A copper kettle, a squashy pocket, sausages, a poker, a teapot, several tripped mugs, and a bottle of amber liquid that he took a swig from before starting to make tea. As soon as the hut was full of the sound and sizzling smell of sausages, nobody said a thing while the giant was working. But as he slid for the first time 6 juicy, slightly burnt sausages from the poker, Dudley fidgeted a little. Uncle Vernon said sharply, "Don't touch anything he gives you, Dudley." The giant chuckled darkly. "You're got great pudding of a son done. Need fattening any more, Dursley?" "Don't worry." He passed the sausages to Harry, who was still hungry. He had never tasted anything so wonderful, but he couldn't take his eyes off the giant. Finally, as nobody seemed about to complain anything, he said, "I'm sorry, but I still don't really know who you are." The giant took a gulp of tea and wiped his mouth around his nose. "Call me Hagrid," he said. "Everyone else does. And like I told you, I'm the keeper of the keys at Hogwarts." Yeah, know about Hogwarts, of course. No," said Harry. Hagrid looked shocked. "Sorry," Harry said quickly. "Sorry?" barked Hagrid, turning to stare at the Dursleys, who shrank back into their shadows. "It's them who should be sorry. I never, you weren't getting your letters, but I never thought you would even know about Hogwarts, for crying out loud. Did you ever wonder where your parents learned it all?" "All what?" Harry asked. "All what?" Hagrid thundered. "Nor wait just 1 second." He had leapt his fingers in anger and seemed to fill the whole hut. The Dursleys were cowering against the wall. "Do you mean to tell me," he growled at the Dursley, "that this boy knows nothing about anything?" Harry thought this was going to be a bit far. He had been to school after all, and his marks weren't bad. "I know some things," he said. "I can do math and stuff." But Hagrid simply waved his hand and said, "About our world, I mean. Your world, my world, your parents' world. What world?" Hagrid looked as if he wanted to explode. "Dursley!" he boomed. Uncle Vernon, who had gone very pale, whispered something that sounded like Mimblewimble. Hagrid stared widely at Harry. "But you must know about your mom and your dad. I mean, they're famous." "You're famous." "What? My mom and dad weren't famous, were they?" "Yeah, I don't know. You don't know." Hagrid ran his fingers through his hair, fixing Harry with a bewildered stare. "You don't know what you are," he said finally. Uncle Vernon soundly found his voice. "Stop!" he commanded. "Stop right there, sir. I forbid you to tell the boy anything." A braver man than Vernon Dursley would have been qualified. Under every syllable trembled with rage. "You never told him? You never told him what was in the letter Dumbledore left for him?" "I was there. I saw Dumbledore. Leave it, Dursley. And you've kept it from him all these years." "Kept what from me?" "Stop! I forbid you!" yelled Uncle Vernon in panic. Aunt Petunia gave a gasp of horror. "Go boil your hands, both of you," said Hagrid. "Harry, you're a wizard." There was silence inside the hut. Only the sea and the whistling wind could be heard. "I'm a what?" Harry grasped. "A wizard, of course," said Hagrid, sitting back down on the sofa, which groaned like a sank even louder. "And a thumping good un, I'd say. Once you've been trained up a bit, with Mom and Dad like yours, what could they do, eh? And I reckon it's about time you read your letter." Harry stretched out his hand and at least take out the yellowish envelope, addressed in a mailed green to Mr. H. Potter, the floor hut on the rock in the sea. He pulled out the letter and read, "Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Headmaster Albus Dumbledore. Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find enclosed a list of all necessary books and equipment. Term begins on September 1st. We await your owl by no later than July 31st. Yours sincerely, Minerva Mangali, Deputy Headmaster. Questions exploded inside Harry's head like fireworks, and he couldn't decide which to ask first. After a few moments, he stammered, "What does it mean, they await my owl?" "Galloping Gorgeous, that reminds me," said Hagrid, clapping a hand to his forehead. Clapping a forehead to his head, with enough force to knock over a cart horse. "And from another pack inside his overcoat he pulled an owl, real life, rather ruffled-looking owl, a long quill and rolled parchment. With his tongue between his teeth, he scribbled a note that Harry could read upside down. Dear Professor Dumbledore, given Harry his letter, taking him to buy things tomorrow. Weather's horrible. Hope you're well. Hagrid. Hagrid rolled up the note and gave it to the owl, which clamped it in its beak, went to the door, and threw the owl into the storm. Then it came back and sat down. This was as normal as talking on the cell phone. Harry realized his mouth was open, and it closed quickly. "Where was I?" said Hagrid. But in a moment, Uncle Vernon, so ashamed-faced, but looking very angry, moved into the firelight. "He's not going," he said. Hagrid grunted. "I like to see a great muggle like you stop him," he said. "A what?" said Harry, interested. "A muggle," said Hagrid. "It's what we call non-magic folk like them, and it's bad luck. You grew up in a family of the biggest muggles I've ever laid my eyes on. We swore when we took him in we'd put a stop to that rubbish," said Uncle Vernon. "Swore we'd stamp it out of him. Wizard indeed." "You knew?" said Harry. "You knew I'm a wizard?" "Knew?" shrieked Aunt Petunia sidelong. "Knew? Of course we knew. How could you not be? My dreaded sister being what she was. She just got a letter just like that and disappeared off to that to school, and came home every vacation with her pockets full of frog spawns, turning teacups into rats. I was the only one who saw her for what she was, a freak. But my mother and father, oh no, it was Lily this and Lily that. They were proud of having a witch in the family. She stopped to draw a deep breath and then went ranting on. It seemed she had been waiting to say for all this year. Then she met Potter at school, and they left and got married and had you. And of course I knew you'd just be the same, the strange, just as adorable, abnormal. And then you please, she went and got herself blown up, and we landed with you. Harry had gone very white. As soon as he found his voice, said, "Blown up? You told me they had died in a car crash." "Car crash?" roared Hagrid, jumping up so angrily that the Dursleys scowled back in their corner. "How could a car crash kill Will and James Potter? It's an outrage, a scandal." Harry Potter, not knowing his own story, then every kid in the world knows his name. But what? But why? But what happened? Harry asked urgently. The angle faded. Hagrid's face looked seriously anxious. "I never expected this," he said in a low, worried voice. "I had no idea when Dumbledore told me there might be trouble getting a hold of you. How much I didn't know." "Ah, Harry, I don't know if I'm the right person to tell you, but someone's gotta. You can't go off to Hogwarts not knowing." He threw a dirty look back at the Dursleys. "Well, it's best for you. Know as much as I can tell you. Mind, I can't tell you everything. It's a great mystery of parts of it." He sat down, staring at the fire for a few seconds, and then said, "It begins, I suppose, with a person called, but it's incredible you didn't not know his name. Everyone in our world knows." "Who?" "Well, I don't know like saying the name if I can help it. No one ever does." "Why not?" Gulping gargoyles. Harry, people are still scared. Blimey, this is difficult. See, there is this wizard who went bad, as bad as you could go. Worse, and worse. His name was..." Hagrid gulped, but no words came out. "Could you write it down?" Harry suggested. "Nah, I can't spell it." "All right, Voldemort." Hagrid shuddered. "Don't make me say it again. Anyway, this wizard, about 20 years ago, started looking for followers. Got 'em to some weird afraid. Some just wanted to be a bit of his power, 'cause he was getting himself power. All right. Dark days. Harry didn't know who to trust. Didn't dare to get friendly with the stranger or wizards. Terrible things happened. He was taken over. Of course, some stood up with him, and he killed them. Horribly, one of Doom only safe places left at Hogwarts. Reckon Dumbledore's the only one you know who was afraid of. Didn't dare try taking the school, not just then anyway. Now your mom and dad were as good as witches, a wizards I've ever knew. Head boy and a girl at Hogwarts in their day. Suppose a mystery you know who never tried to get him on his side before. Probably knew they were too close to Dumbledore to want anything to do with the dark side. Maybe he thought he could persuade him. Maybe he just wanted them out of you anyway. All anyone knows is he turned up in the village where you was all living on Halloween 10 years ago. You was just a year old. He came to your house and Hagrid suddenly pulled out a very dirty, spotted handkerchief and blew his nose with the sound of foghorn. "Sorry," he said, "but it's that sad. I knew your mom and dad and nice people you couldn't find. Anyway, you know who killed them. And then this is the real mystery of the thing. He tried to kill you too. He wanted to make a clean job of it, I suppose. Or maybe you just liked killing by then. But he couldn't do it. Never wondered why you got a mark on your forehead? That was no ordinary cut. That's what you got when a powerful evil curse touches your head. Take care of your mom and your dad and your house even, but it didn't work on you. That's why you're famous, Harry. No one ever lived after decided to kill him. No one except for you. And he'd kill some of the bestest wizards and witches of the age, the Mykonos, the bones of Prewets, and was only a baby, and you lived. Something very painful was going on in Harry's mind. As Hagrid's story came to a close, he saw again the blinding flash of green light more clearly than he had ever remembered it before. And he remembered it something else. For the first time in his life, a high, cold, cruel laugh. Hagrid was watching him sadly. I took you from ruin your house on Dumbledore's doors. Brought you to this load of old tosh, said Uncle Vernon. Harry jumped. He had almost forgotten the Dursleys were there. Uncle Vernon certainly seemed to have been back in his courage. He was glaring at Hagrid, and his fists were clenched. "Now you listen here, boy," he snarled. "I accept there's something strange about you. Probably nothing good. Beating wouldn't have curved. And as for all this about your parents, well, there were no weirdos, no denying it. And the world's better off without them, in my opinion. As for all they got getting mixed up with these wizarding types, just what I expected. I always knew they'd come to a sticky end." But at that moment, Hagrid leapt forward from the sofa, drew back a battered pink umbrella from inside his coat, pointing this at Uncle Vernon like a sword. "I'm warning you, Dursley. I'm warning you. I'm your word." In danger of knowing being speared on the end of the umbrella by a bearded giant, Uncle Vernon's courage failed again. He flattened himself out, fell to the wall of silence. "That's better," said Hagrid, breathing heavily and sitting back down on the sofa, which this time sagged right down to the door. Harry, meanwhile, still had questions to ask, hundreds of them. But what happened to you know who? "Good question, Harry. He disappeared, vanished. Some night he tried to kill you, make you even more famous. That's the biggest mystery, see. He was getting more and more powerful. Where'd he go? Why'd he go? Some say he died. Cold swallow, in my opinion. I don't know if he had enough human left in him to die. Some say he's still out there, biding his time. But I don't believe it. People who was on his side came back to ours. Some of 'em came out a kinda trances down. Reckon they could have done if he was coming back. Most of us reckon he's still out there somewhere, but lost his powers, too weak to carry on, 'cause something about your finish counted on. I don't know what it was. No one does. Something about you stumped him. All right? Hagrid looked at Harry with a warmth and respect blazing into his eyes, but Harry, instead of feeling proud, felt quite sure there had been a horrible mistake. A wizard? Him? How could he possibly be? He spent his life being clouded by Dudley and bullied by Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon. If he was ever really a wizard, why hadn't they been turned into warty toads every time they tried to lock him in his cupboard? If he'd once defeated the greatest sorcerer in the world, how come Dudley had always been able to kick him around like a football? Hagrid, he said quietly, I think you must have made a mistake. I don't think I can be a wizard. To his surprise, Hagrid chuckled. Not a wizard, eh? Never made things happen when you was scared or angry? Harry looked out into the fire. Now you come to think about it, every other thing that ever made his aunt and uncle famous with him had happened when Harry had been upset and angry. Just by Dudley's gang. He had somehow found himself out of their reach, dreading going to school with the ridiculous haircut. He'd managed to grow it back, and the very last time Dudley had hit him. Hadn't got his revenge, without even realizing it. He was done. Hadn't he set a boa constrictor on him? Harry looked back at Hagrid, smiling, and saw that Hagrid was positively beaming at him. See, Hagrid? See, said Hagrid. Harry Potter, not a wizard. You wait. You'll be famous at Hogwarts. But Uncle Vernon wasn't going to give without a fight. Haven't I told you he's not going? He hissed. He's not going to Stonewall High, and he'll be grateful for it. I've read those letters, and all I need is sorts of rubbish, spellbooks and wands, and if he wants to go, a great muggle like you won't stop him, snarled Hagrid. Stop, Lily and James Potter. Son going to Hogwarts. You're mad. His name's been down ever since he was born. He's off to the finest school with witchcraft and wizardry in the world. 7 years there, and he won't know himself. He'll be with youngsters of his own sort for a change. And he'll be under the greatest headmaster Hogwarts has ever had, Albus Dumbledore. I am not paying for that crackpot, you old fool. Teach him magic tricks, yelled Uncle Vernon. But he had fully gone too far. Hagrid had seized his umbrella and whirled around his head. Never, he thundered, insult of Albus Dumbledore in front of me. He brought the umbrella swishing down in the air to point at Dudley. There was a flash of violet light, a sound of firecracker, a sharp squeal. The next second, Dudley was dancing on the spot with his hands clasped over his fat bottom, howling in pain. When he turned back on them, Harry saw a curly's pigtail poking through a hole of his trousers. Uncle Vernon roared, pulling Aunt Petunia and Dudley into the other room. He cast one last terrified look at Hagrid and slammed the door behind us. Hagrid looked down at his umbrella, stroked his beard. Shouldn't let lost my temper, he said ruefully. But it didn't work anyway. Meant to turn him into a pig, I suppose. He was so much like a pig anyway, there wasn't much left to do. He cast a sideways look at Harry and his bushy eyebrows. Be grateful if you didn't mention it, that anyone at Hogwarts, he said, I'm not supposed to do magic. Strictly speaking, I was not allowed to do a bit to magic follow you and you got any letters stuff. One of the reasons I was keen to take her on the job. Why aren't you supposed to do magic? Asked Harry. Oh well, I was at Hogwarts about myself, but I got expelled. To tell the truth, in my 3rd year, snapped me my wand in half, everything. But Dumbledore let me stay as the gameskeeper. Great man Dumbledore. Why were you expelled? It's getting late, and we got lots of things to do tomorrow, said Hagrid loudly. Gotta get up to learn all them books. That he took off his thick black coat and threw it into Harry. You can keep under that, he said. Don't mind if it wriggles and bit. I think I got a couple of the micros in one of the pockets. That is the end of chapter 4, and I will be back for chapter 5, Dragon Alley, on page 61.